What up, ladies and gentlemen? It is time for the review portion of the show. Alright, so just like last time, here's how it's going to work. We are going to do a discussion based on the TV show. I'm going to explain the TV show, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to review it in general, say what its good parts and its bad parts were, etc., etc., etc. Then the second half of this is going to be the discussion. This is where all of your comments end up in the show, and we're going to talk about them, we're going to comment on everything about it. Now, haven't had comments for a while. I've had a few here or there on other stuff, but really and truly this is where the majority of the stuff is going to be focused, because this is really what we're focusing on. I do TV shows really well, so I think that's what's best, right? Best to start with a clean shate. Yeah, let's start with that. Clean shate. I'm an Irishman saying sheet. Whatever. Anyways, so the pilot episode, season 1, episode 1, Self-Esteemers. This is one of the best entrances to a show I've ever seen, ever. You immediately get the feel for who these characters are, what their motivations are, their personalities, every single thing. So, who are we introduced to? We're introduced to, and I'm certain there's going to be more people later on, but we're introduced to Jane Lane, the best friend. She's an artiste who is also uber cool. She's got like those 3 awesome piercings right here, and she cannot be bothered with anything, and she's super sarcastic, but she pales in comparison to Daria Morgendorfer, who is an astonishingly great wit. This girl can read you and have you pinned and gutted like that. She is extremely intuitive. She is hella smart. Now, this show takes place in the 90s, and I have to say, this show was my childhood. Like, it was like everything that happened in this show was literally my childhood. I grew up in when you watch 80s films, and you see the kind of that, oh, the dorky always gets beaten up and like hung from a flagpole or something, right? Or you watch TV shows, right? And there's that stereotype, right, of the different cliques and how they used to work. That's how things actually used to be. I talked about it in my review of the Divergent series, how they had those 5 different classes and they kind of represent high school, and it wouldn't have worked if she was in any of the classes. That's exactly how it was. And this show really seems to capture it. The disinterested teachers, the disinterested parents because they're too busy working to actually pay attention to their kids, the people who are so pretty that they got to be popular, and the invisibles, the brains. The people who it is totally okay to kick their asses because no one would ever notice. This is a true story, and I'm going to tell you this straight up. When I was a kid, probably in like grade 3, I want to say. Yeah, grade 3. I distinctly remember being chased by a group of guys across a field, and I was a good runner in those days. I was a really, really, really good runner, and the reason I was a good runner is because we were perpetually being chased. The ones who got caught got their asses whooped. Luckily, I never got my ass whooped, although I did have my nose broken a couple times. That's why it's crooked. I distinctly remember them chasing me across a field just cause, you know, for the sake of being smart, right? You were so ostracized for being intelligent, it was not funny. I literally had one friend. His name was Mark Flanagan. I tried to reach out to him over Facebook, and he didn't want anything to do with me. He remembers I was a brain too, I guess. Anyways, yeah, I had one friend. His name was Mark Flanagan. He moved away, and I had no friends, and that was shit. Like, just shit. But eventually, being smart got cool, and I remember what happened. I got a cool haircut, had a few interesting stories. People eased up. It got cool to be smart, I guess, near in the early 2000s. They eased up off your necks a little bit. I'm pretty sure that there's a bunch of people out there who are listening to this and going, oh yeah, it was just a bad night. Trust me, it was terrible. People used to hunt you because you were smart. It was not okay to be smart. To be smart was the equivalent of being like what's something that's bad, that's not a cliche? Like, being smart was the equivalent of being a criminal in a police station full of cops. It was their righteous duty to kick your ass for the crime of being smart. And I'll disseminate more of those stories later, but this TV show encapsulates that perfectly. Like, she's up there talking, they're like, oh, what a loser, she had self-esteem, no, she's so smart, what a loser. Here's the thing, Daria, if you take a look at her, she's actually quite pretty, right? But this is really, really, really good at introducing all the characters. It really, really is. The parents, the mother's clearly very hardworking, she has a lot on her plate, right? The dad's an idiot, like all dads. My dad's not an idiot. Yeah, he is. I guarantee you, compare him to your mom. Okay, that's a bad comparison, but yeah. I read this a long time ago, and it made a lot of sense to me. A mother knows all the children's birth dates, all the nieces and nephews' birthdays, and knows all the appointments, blah, 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 blah. A man knows that there's a whole bunch of short people living inside his house. That's essentially the dad in this case, right? He's an ATM who's kind of aware that there are 3 women living in his house, and he's not too sure what to do about it. Poor guy, poor guy. And so that's Daria, that's Jane. Then there's her sister Quinn, the pretty one. Which reminds me a lot about my sister. They do not want anything to do with you if you are smart. Anything that high school is a lot like society. Actually, I should say society is a lot like high school. But really, high school is a reflection of the society around it. People only care what you can add to their social capital. And in high school, social capital is based on how good looking are you, and what is your social status is based on your looks and your money. I'm sorry to say that once you get to college, your social status is based on how many people you have sex with and what you can do with your limited funds. But once you get into the working world, you'll find that it depends only on the clothes you wear, the car you drive, and exactly what you can bring in terms of making money for the company. Or if you're good looking, you can get away with not having to make money for the company. Because, you could always, be the boss's quote-unquote favorite. As I said, life does not progress past high school. It just gets weirder. If I was going to rate this episode, now it's a pilot. And a pilot's very different from the other episodes within this series. Because the pilot has to encapsulate everything that the series is going to be without knowing where it's going to go. And I'm not sure how I should rate this pilot without seeing the rest of the season, because to be quite honest, without the rest of the season as context, how do you rate the pilot, right? How do you compare this? What's the best episode of the show versus the pilot? We've seen a good introduction to the characters. We have a general idea of the setup, right? Where do we go from here? I don't know. But let's watch, let's wait, let's see, and we'll see if this is a TV show worth watching, because so far, so good. It looks really, really, really good. In terms of a slice of 90s culture, it's got it. In terms of establishing your characters as interesting characters, it's there. Daria is, as an intellectual female character, a very, very, very strong character, but without being one-dimensional. You can tell that there's a lot to her and that she's got a general through line, but I'm curious to see what's beneath the surface of that. There's a scene where her sister essentially says, "I'm an only child," and it's just a 2-second cutaway. Daria's eyes go, she gets very upset. So clearly, yes, she acts like she couldn't be bothered. But you want to know something? It does bother her quite a bit, as it would bother anyone to have somebody who's, supposed to be there for you at all times, right? I mean, she's there for her sister. You would expect that your sister is there for you. For them to go and disown you like that, just so casually and so flippantly, because, I'm talking to a guy and I don't want him to think like I'm weird, because, being smart is not okay. See, look, I should make a video on this. The five things that made it okay to be a nerd, right? I actually know what. I will make a video on that. Yeah, let me write it down here. Make a video. The 5 things that make it okay to be a nerd. Video idea. The 5 things that made it okay to be a nerd. Now, I was a geek in high school. A proud geek, and I never left the library. With good reason. I'm not going to explain those reasons to you. I don't have to. But I feel like this show is really going to encapsulate that early 90s feel, or that late 90s, early 2000s feel, and I'm quite interested to see where it goes. A little bit of history behind the show before we move on. This was not a YTV. This was an MTV show, you know, the mature show. So I'm curious to see what risks it takes, because in MTV in the 90s, they were like the only thing that were kind of showing, you know, the more risque side. Everything else in the 90s was a little bit more wholesome in terms of like kids programming. Like if you would think of things like the Animaniacs or SpongeBob or Pokemon or all those other things that are around at the same time. If I think about all those shows and I compare it to this one is way, 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 way more mature. It's more like what a Degrassi would be, except not so in depth. Instead of focusing on this cast of characters, we're focusing on 1 or 2 characters. And because the show's called Daria, I assume that we focus on Daria and the people who are in her immediate surroundings. Like, I doubt we're going to have a Quinn episode, or a Jane episode, or a Mrs. Morgendorfer episode, right? Or, God forbid, a QB Kevin episode. Oh my God. What would it be? Just 20 minutes of getting hit in the head with a baseball bat? Oh, I'd rather be hit in the head for 20 minutes with that baseball bat. Don't watch that goddamn jock. But anyways, what more can I say about the pilot? It seems interesting. It might even require a re-review. But these are my thoughts on the very first episode of Daria. I thought it was great. I hope that you watch this. I hope that you go and you watch the show and you join me in this little journey. And I will see you next time. Now, we got to get the schedule down for this. Since this is the Christmas break, and I have both a lot of time, but too little time on my hands at the same time, because once school starts back, I'm going to be busy with making final exams, teaching the last few units for my courses, getting all that stuff done. I don't think, and all the other stuff that's supposed to be going on, I'm not certain if I'll have time to do like a daily thing, even though this series is already out. So, here's what I'm thinking. Once a week, every Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I'll put these episodes out. That way you guys have a nice long week to comment, or if you want, we could do it on a little bit of a tighter time schedule, maybe every 3 days. I don't know. I really don't know, because one thing I know is that, especially with a TV show like this, one that's already out, you're probably going to want to watch more episodes of this as soon as you see it. Especially when it's like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting a week for? Why would you wait a week to see a TV show that is literally 20 years old? Right? Also, I know that especially for people, especially with things like games content, or with show content that's like binge-worthy, people tend to just watch the seasons, or watch each episode, go. Watch each episode, go. Watch each episode, go. So here, maybe I'll record these on like the daily while I've got this 2-week period. I don't know. It's up to you guys. It depends on the response to this. So I'm going to post this. I'm going to give you guys a couple days, and we'll see where it goes from there. Alright, so those are my thoughts. I thought it was a very good pilot. It's better than a lot of pilots for a lot of things I've seen. It's very, very, very interesting, and I'm extremely curious to see where this goes. Alright, this has been my review. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.